Live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you not entertained just yet? We are live on a Monday, and it's not actually a Maniac type of day. It's a beautiful, gorgeous Monday. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show with your one and only Jake the Snake Silva. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, also on Twitter or on Twitch. And like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for all latest notifications on YouTube. That is where we are live today. Gosh, we have such a stacked lineup here for you today, and I am excited to just be breaking it all down for you guys. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. I know for a fact I did. And by the way, Prime Predictions was actually really good this week. We only had like maybe a couple of picks. There were about 3 of them. I do my Prime Predictions every week, and so far so good. It's actually been heating up. And then, of course, the last pick, which is tonight's game, Bills and Titans. I'm going with the Bills. So we got a lot of really good stuff to unpack, but it's been a lot of fun throughout this whole weekend. I know this upcoming weekend, it's going to be stacked. It's going to be a lot of fun. I will definitely be doing live play-by-play commentary as well, since we've got the AL and NLCS. It's been really good on both sides. Braves right now with a 2-0 lead. The Dodgers right now are in trouble. The Red Sox and Astros, they are both tied, and they are playing, I believe, tonight. So there's so much to really unpack, and the NBA season's right around the corner, and we got hockey, so there's so much to talk about sports. But hopefully all of you guys can definitely check out all of our live play-by-play streams. We've got Monday night games tonight, so you guys do not want to end up missing out on that, and keeping yourselves tuned in tonight. So, alrighty, so we're going to talk and recap all of what we had this past weekend. All right, and I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic this weekend. But let's get something straight about one specific game. Because, first of all, this was all brewed up all week long. Justin Herbert of the Chargers and Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. There were a few things that were big-time takeaways, which I do think both teams are really good. But the Chargers forgot exactly what day it was. But unfortunately, here's the good thing. At least they're going into a bye week this next week, and hopefully to reevaluate things. But let's talk about Lamar Jackson, because a lot of people still were on this hype train of thinking the league's going to figure him out eventually. Have they really? Because what it seems like, and this is the only team with the most running backs in the league, because Gus Edwards is hurt. J.K. Dobbins is hurt. So they had to go and get Le'Veon Bell. They had to go and get Devontae Freeman, and they went and got Latavius Murray to help with the run game. And besides the fact, they lost a couple of really good defensemen. They lost Matt Judon to New England, and they lost a few others on the line. Baltimore, to me, being 5-1 only tells you one thing. They are serious about what their group is. And Lamar Jackson, let's be honest, nobody in this league can figure him out. Yes, he can throw a ball for everybody that still continues to criticize him on his throwing, and also is the most elusive running quarterback we've seen in this league. Probably more so than we saw Michael Vick a couple years ago. Lamar Jackson proved one thing, is that regardless of all that was hitting on the organization's end, with running backs all hurt, they still managed to figure things out. I mean, yeah, they dropped the dud against the Raiders, but after that, since they've been on a 5-game winning streak. They've been a team that's been red hot, a team that really nobody's been talking about at all week to week. But Lamar Jackson has this type of he has this type of mentality that, look, you could throw everything at me all you want, but I'm going to figure out a way to get myself out of tough situations, and he's doing just that. Mind you, you're in a division where the Cleveland Browns, outside of Baker Mayfield, is really good. You've got Cincinnati. That's looking much better. Joe Burrow, I hope, gets more support, but he looks really good. And look, the Steelers, their defense is solid. The only thing they have to figure out is the quarterback position. So the North is somewhat competitive, just not all the way there yet. But Lamar Jackson, amongst all AFC teams, you have to realize that he has the best record as a starting quarterback in the AFC. He does. And even though we actually fantasize more about Patrick Mahomes, we forget a little bit more about what Lamar Jackson's really capable of. So this past Sunday, we all thought it was going to be a shootout game between the Chargers and the Ravens. The Chargers have one problem: rush defense. The run defense is piss poor. That's a team, the last few teams that has capitalized, yet the Chargers were still able to figure things out to win games. But Washington, with Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick, ran all over them. Dallas Cowboys, Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, they all ran through that defense. Then you also have Cleveland, who Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, the two-headed monsters in the backfield, all ran all over this Chargers defense. And then there was bits and pieces of Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the Chiefs, and then Lamar Jackson and the rest of the running core. They could not contain Lamar Jackson at all. And let me tell you something. This is the type of person and type of critic that I am. Okay, when I watch a movie or I watch a show, or if I'm, going down to, the one of those plays that you got down at the Smith Center or wherever. If you have a show that you prove to me that this is the type of show, I want to spread the word to everybody, all my friends, all my families, and say, did you guys catch that show? Did you guys watch this movie? That's the one that gets me plugged in. I mean, the Chargers have been really, really good all season long, and they're 4-2 right now. But that game, as any critic, if you're out of sync, if you're out of tune as an artist, or if you're just, one of those actors that you try so hard on a storyline, I'm going to turn the television off, or I'm going to change the track on my truck. Because that's exactly what I ended up getting out of the Chargers offensively and defensively. Completely out of sync. Nobody was able to contain Lamar Jackson. And I just think that they were not prepared. They were just not prepared. What's going on, Hector? What's going on, Jamar Gaines? What's going on, Anthony Price? But yes, sooner or later, they're going to. But at this time right now, I mean, Lamar Jackson is such a humble character, but at the same time understands that when he makes his own mistakes, he takes responsibility for his mistakes. He's not a perfect quarterback. Eventually, teams are going to figure him out. But this was a type of game that told you how this Ravens team has really been playing. They're 5-1. They're still continuing to go on a hot streak, but it's not a team that I would sleep on all season long. That's been a team that's looked much better, regardless of how the backfield looks and how that they're going to adjust throughout the rest of the season. I'm not sure. But right now, from what I can see, there are a couple of pieces that are getting healthy. But I just think last Sunday proved to you why people need to stop saying that they figured out Lamar Jackson. If you figured him out, prove it. That's the only thing he asks, is prove to me that you figured me out. Because eventually, the more and more you continuously try, Lamar is going to find a way to get himself out of those positions. So that's why I'm like, I think Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's doing things that we never even have thought of before. So I just say what we saw this past Sunday, the Chargers were absolutely unprepared for Lamar Jackson. And Lamar and the rest of the Baltimore Ravens team is a type of team that's willing to punch you in your mouth, and they are willing to score and play great defense however that they need to. They're a very big-time situational team. All right, so let's talk about one other team that I've heavily criticized, but I do think that they've really adjusted well. Because this was a team, they were on Hard Knocks this year. This is the third time out of all the episodes of Hard Knocks, all the seasons that we've watched. And this is a big-time brand. And we've never seen play better football and at least are more disciplined than we thought. It's the Dallas Cowboys. I was heavily critical about what the Cowboys were going to look like this year. Because even though I knew what I was getting out of Trayvon Diggs, and I knew what I was getting out of Micah Parsons, they get rid of Jalen Smith, but he's not a huge loss. Yes, they are losing a defender, but not one that you'll hinder off of. The Cowboys look younger, look faster, and they look a lot more disciplined. I think hiring Dan Quinn in this offseason basically proved that this defense looked sloppy in the last 2 seasons, and they needed to fix it. They needed to get healthier, they needed to get stronger, and they needed to get faster. And that's exactly what the Cowboys have looked like this year. I knew what I was going to get out of the offense. The offense is not my problem. The offensive line eventually is going to need some help, but Dak, off an injury, Zeke, he may not be the most explosive runner, but you're getting rushing touchdowns out of him. Tony Pollard, he's one that can bust through a defensive line any week. And do I need to go down the list with CeeDee Lamb and a couple of other wide receivers? Something is interesting about Dallas this year, because this has been a team, and this past week against New England, they hadn't won a game against New England since 1985. Do you know how important a game like that is to them? I mean, that spoke a lot of volumes, regardless if Tom is not even in the building. I mean, you're talking about New England with plenty of history of winning championships. They have more championship wins than Dallas does. But the Cowboys this year, outside of their division, they look like a team that could be very tough in the NFC. Because there are a lot of teams that are brewing up in that conference. The Rams, the Cardinals, like, I know what I'm going to get out of Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, but I still have questions about them. But for the Dallas Cowboys, it kind of looks and feels like they've answered every single question that we've asked. Is this team going to be capable of stopping pass plays? Is that going to be a team that's going to remain healthy all year long? We know it's only been 6 weeks and we're going into week 7, but I think, to me, Dallas, not only will they win the division, but they could be a team making noise in the NFC. I don't want to get my hopes up, but sometimes when you watch teams like this, it could be either one of them. It could be any other team, AFC, NFC. When you watch a team that you know can be explosive on offense, and a team that can be fast on defense. Even though that Dan Quinn has a lot of experience as being a defensive coordinator from Seattle and built the Legion of Boom, I mean, this is kind of something that the Cowboys needed. They needed to have at least a grown-up on that side of the field to manage up all of the mess that they've been dealing with the last 2 seasons. So I feel like finally they figured that out. And look, Trayvon Diggs is ridiculous. I mean, that's a kid that's getting an interception almost every week. So I don't know. My critical thinking of the Cowboys is slowly pulling back. It's slowly pulling back because they're scoring up enough points on offense. They are making big-time plays on defense. And that's a team, regardless of what you say about Mike McCarthy, mean, it's been really, really impressive. It's been really impressive to see Dallas to start this year 5-1. And let's see exactly what the rest of the season brings. But I'm telling you, they could be a team making serious noise in that NFC because there are some teams brewing up. But if you're the Cowboys, you cannot afford any more distractions. You can't afford any more injuries. So the only option that they have to do is play hard, play smart, stay healthy, and win more games. That's the only thing that the Cowboys right now, this has been part of their formula. And the formula right now, from what we've seen in the last 6 weeks, has looked better. It's looked a lot better. So, but they've got to win a playoff game. That's the only thing that they have to prove to me is winning a playoff game. But the critics are starting to slowly pull back. So let's see. Let's just see what the Cowboys got. All right, coming up next, because as I've said before, I said this in the previous episode of my show. The Raiders definitely came in this week with a statement to show. And this is after Gruden's firing and resigning. I don't know what the hell you call it. But the Raiders were proving to themselves they're not the team that people think they are. I will explain why this is going to be a good thing for the Raiders moving forward after this past weekend's win against the Denver Broncos. Plus, I'm also going to be breaking down a little bit more up on baseball and getting you geared up for the championship series and what's to come for the NBA season. Because there's a lot of headlines that are going to be coming in, and it's going to be coming in quick. What's going on, Grego, and what's going on, Key in the building? You guys can check out all Philadelphia sports content here on the Spotlight Sports Network as you tune into Key in the building. She's got you covered on Flyers, Eagles, Sixers, and, of course, Philadelphia Phillies. Straight out of Philly, it's Key in the building. Alrighty, guys. So, listen, even though I'm getting excited every single day when I'm on the air and I'm here speaking and talking about sports here with all of you guys, there's one thing that I'm even more excited about because I love sports. I love playing and betting sports, and I also love playing fantasy football because I know my team's kind of struggling, but I'm getting better as weeks go on. But there's one app that I would love to explain to you guys, short and simple. It's called SuperDraft Pro. What is it all about? Well, it's daily fantasy, and what's best about it is you sign up today, pick your subscriptions, and you pay to play. But not only that, you also get paid sharing the app with your friends and family members because we're growing a community. It's more than an app. SuperDraft Pro allows you to build a lineup like a pro, win contests like a pro, and share the app with your friends and family and to build a community like a pro. So you guys want more details and you guys want more information on SuperDraft Pro, definitely give me a message. Give me a message anywhere, and I will be happy to explain it to you what this app is all about. I've been excited about this thing since day one, and I've got my lineup ready for tonight, so I can't wait to share it with all of you guys. So go online to superdraftpro.com. You can also download it on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store at SuperDraft Pro Fantasy and Sportsbook app and start signing up, get your subscription going, and start playing and sharing today. That's superdraftpro.com. One more time, superdraftpro.com.
It's time!
I feel like the grass is green, and everything I do is unseen. But I know that's just in my mind. I know everything is just in my mind. Do you really want to be famous? Do you really want to be a superstar? Do you really want to get dangerous? Do you even know where to go?
From O-A-K-L-A to L-V, I'm a Raider. Ain't shit you can tell me, I'm a Raider. Ain't shit you can tell me, I'm so nation. No matter the location. From O-A-K-L-A to L-V, I'm a Raider. Ain't shit you can tell me, I'm a Raider. Ain't shit you can tell me, I'm so nation. No matter the location. This got that.
Well, folks, as you always know here on the Spotlight Sports Network, as Jake the Snake is back here with you, we've always got great deals going on online through our merchandise section powered by Spreadshirt. We know it's getting cold up out there, so you guys are needing to bundle up, keep yourself warm, and keep yourself snug, but also be repping the network and supporting the shows as well on the network. Just go online to SpotlightSportsNetwork.com. Under the merchandise section, powered by Spreadshirt. We've got great deals always happening every week. So I do want to explain what one game that I watched this past weekend that I thought personally, and what I looked at last weekend, and what my sorry about that, what my prime predictions basically explain. One game in particular. So the Las Vegas Raiders ended up pulling off the win against the Denver Broncos. And I did say this past week, that game was going to be a standalone statement game. Because the Raiders all throughout this week didn't really know what to really say or express themselves after what happened with the John Gruden incidents. So Gruden's already out of the building. He's out. I mean, all the investigations, all of his personal life, that's all being handled at this moment. But all the players, as I've said before, they've gotten brand new coaching with Gus Bradley. The defense looks a little better. But also, too, they were not getting the most out of their offense. We know the offensive line is so mediocre. But this was the most important win for the Raiders moving forward because they started off 3-0. And I thought they were going to come in after losing the last 2 weeks. They were not going to be looking all that great. But they managed to go 4-2. They're tied with the Chargers right now in that division lead. And both the Broncos and the Chiefs are 3-3. The Raiders right now needed something new. Look at all of the coaches in this league. Brandon Staley, young coach, very aggressive, is a guy that looks like he's a guy that looks like he could really amp up this Chargers team for years. Look at Kyle Shanahan in the offense for San Francisco. Even though that they've been riddled with injuries, that's a team that I can see Trey Lance really making some noise in the next couple of years. Sean McVay in the offense. The Rams, that's a team, they got aggressive picking up Matthew Stafford, and they're the talk of the league right now. The Arizona Cardinals know that they are on the big seat because the fact that they needed to make the playoffs. And they're on a 6-0 stretch, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But the one thing about the Raiders, because they've got real good offensive pieces, Bryan Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, And Henry Ruggs is finally looking better than what he did in his past rookie year. And Derek Carr has looked the most efficient that we've seen. But I thought we knew this. So it's sometimes when it comes to Raider Nation, this was the open reality they needed to see before their very eyes. John Gruden, you knew, was the problem. Not Derek Carr, not the offensive weaponry. The offensive line needs a little bit more help, and they need some stability. And then there was the defense. The defense looks stronger, looks better. Gus Bradley knows what he's doing on the defensive side of the field. So there's no doubt that he'll adjust this Raiders defense and adjust what they need to do better. Because let's be honest, the Denver Broncos, as I've said, they're fool's gold. Because right now they started the year 3-0. Everybody started to talk about how great their offense, how great their defense is. The offense started scoring points, but you know what? They're without Jerry Jeudy. The quarterback situation is like they're walking on thin ice. And the defense, outside of their secondaries, I still have certain question marks. But Denver didn't even look like themselves in the past 3 weeks. There were a lot of different analysts that had them up to here on like the top 10 of best teams walking into week 4. I did not. Because Denver, I like their defense. And I do like a couple offensive pieces. But the quarterback is questionable. The coaching is questionable. And how they're really securing games. I mean, they beat the Jags, Giants, and Jets. 3 of them that are all rebuilding teams. That's not enough to really make a statement. If you were playing teams like Baltimore, like Kansas City, like like Tennessee, or even playing, against Tampa Bay and the Rams, playoff caliber teams, that's one thing. But against rebuilding teams is really not enough. But all I can say is for the Raiders, that was impressive. And that looked a lot better than what the Raiders had in the last 3 seasons under Gruden. It's looked better. It's looked tougher. The offense looks like that they want to score more points. There's no pullback. There's no push. There's no pushback. There's nothing. The team actually plays better, which is what I've been saying over the last couple of seasons. They needed to make it happen. So with Gruden out of the building, this is where Raider fans have to feel excited about this. Because now they're going to be starting to look for a brand new head coach. Now, there are a couple of them that they've had into consideration. Eric Bieniemy of the Chiefs and Brian Daboll of the Buffalo Bills. But however this offseason is going to look like, let's just see what the rest of the season does pan out, because it's only been about 6 weeks. They had the new head coach, at least an interim head coach. I thought he looked pretty good. Let's just see what he's got. We got more and more football along the way. But all I can say is this is actually a pretty bright day for the Raiders moving forward. That was the only appreciation I wanted to give to them. Time now for the hot press. So we've got some news in the NBA so far, but the Phoenix Suns and the young center DeAndre Ayton, talks between them and DeAndre Ayton of contract extensions has ended without agreement. So they've ended without a deal, and they're hoping. DeAndre Ayton is expected a maximum contract, and owner Robert Sarver hasn't offered it yet to the 2018 number 1 overall pick. DeAndre Ayton, of course, was one of the key pieces of the Suns' run to the NBA Finals this past season. And was also part of a really, really good class in the draft in 2018, like Luka Doncic, Trae Young, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Michael Porter Jr. Listen, I think DeAndre Ayton is a heck of a player. I do think he's really, really good. The Suns, I know, are coming off of a year where they lost in the NBA Finals, but man, were they the talk, and they were the story all of last season. So it's tough to really make some sort of comment with this, but I'm sure that they're eventually going to get a deal done. This is not a big deal. Sometimes when it comes to the agents, the players, the franchise, it's always a numbers game. It's always like that. But I'm sure they're going to get a deal in place because I don't think DeAndre Ayton, at 23 years old, I don't think he really wants to leave this Phoenix franchise. I mean, they've got a lot of really good pieces. They will eventually look like a team that could be primed up to winning a championship at some point. But hopefully, if the pay is right, the numbers, and of course, the extension of the contract, hopefully is sound. But I don't think the Phoenix Suns should really freak themselves out about this. So after a big-time win internationally in London as the Jaguars and the Miami Dolphins were playing, the Jaguars got their first official win of the season after nailing a 53-yard field goal as time expired. Urban Meyer said Jacksonville Jaguars' emotional locker room after win in London comparable to college football titles. So Urban Meyer had this to say. He said, I think it was, maybe even including some of those big ones, the national championship games, that he felt like was a big deal. Well, it is a big deal, of course. I mean, Urban Meyer officially gets his first win in the NFL while the team ended up going 0-5. And I thought it was an important yet impressive win for the Jags. But as I've said before, this train where people want to bail out on Urban Meyer, let's just see what happens in the next couple weeks and hopefully throughout the rest of the season. If they turn things around, because the one thing that I'm waiting for is sometimes teams that come off of bye weeks. Usually sometimes when they go on a bye, they have 2 weeks to evaluate. They got 2 weeks to evaluate before they ended up going into the next week where they have to face their next opponent. So who knows what the Jags might look like post bye week. They might look a little better or they might look a little worse. But at least Urban Meyer got his first win. Trevor Lawrence has to be feeling really good about himself as well. So hopefully Jacksonville, they can build upon it. I know that they are a rebuilding franchise. They're not even close to there yet. But I do think this is going to be a happy future for them moving forward. So as we mentioned here earlier, LSU ended up having big news that was announced that head coach Ed Orgeron says that he will not be returning to LSU in the 2022 season after winning a national championship title in 2019. And of course, the last couple of seasons that LSU had been playing haven't really been all that great, but still has been pretty solid. Is probably going to end up calling it a career soon. But one head coach that they've actually reached out to, Jimbo Fisher, dismisses talk of the LSU job and plans on fulfilling this contract as Texas A&M's coach. Jimbo Fisher, I mean, he's got experience with winning a national championship title and after being out in Florida State. I do think he's a really good head coach. I've said this to a lot of people, like, even though that Texas A&M, they're a sneaky team. The SEC is filled with really good coaches. I mean, you could say Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, the head coach out there in Georgia, and then there's Ed Orgeron in LSU. There are a couple of coaches, at least 5 of them, that I know that I'm going to get really, really good and aggressive head coaching. But LSU, unfortunately, can't be able to nab a deal with Jimbo Fisher, so I'm sure that they're going to be right there on the vacancy pile of trying to fill in that head coaching role. But hopefully LSU can find at least the right head coach. I mean, they're spreading far and wide. They're all over the place. So, all right, so we've got at least a good big-time news. So Malcolm Brogdon ended up agreeing to an additional 2 years, $45 million extension with the Indiana Pacers. So it's guaranteeing him at least $89.3 million over the next 4 years. So Brogdon's extension will begin at 2023 through the 24 season and raising his annual salary to $22.5 million in those new contractual seasons. So Malcolm Brogdon, very, very good player, averaging at least 15 points with 4 rebounds and 4.7 points in his career after leaving Milwaukee in 2019 and signing the trade deal with the Indiana Pacers. Malcolm Brogdon's a really good defensive player as well. So good day for him, good payday, but let's just hope that he could stay healthy as well. So, guys, that was your hot press. Coming up next, as usual, as always, on this type of day on Monday, I've got my cap on, and you want to know why. Because every week we always do a thing here on the Snake Sports Talk Show known as Quick Caps, where we're recapping every single game in the NFL in Week 6. And, of course, we've got tonight's game that we're going to be gearing up. I do it every week, so you guys do not want to end up missing Quick Caps here on the Snake Sports Talk Show. As I mentioned before, deals are going very, very fast here on the SpotlightSportsNetwork.com. And it's getting cold. It's getting cooler. It's actually felt really, really nice here in the Vegas Valley area. So get yourselves bundled up. Get yourself some hoodies. Get yourself some hats. Maybe even some coffee mugs. If you guys love coffee and hot cocoa or tea, whatever it may be, rep for the network and rep all of your favorite shows on the network. And when you do, guys, when you do purchase all of your merchandising, feel free. Send us all a message with a picture of you repping your gear, and we will definitely showcase it on all of our social media platforms. Just a little of appreciation and thank you to everyone who is supporting the network, loving the network, and loving all the shows here on the network. So go online, SpotlightSportsNetwork.com, under the merchandise section, powered by Spreadshirt. Deals always happening every week. Stay up on top of it, guys. You don't want to end up missing it.
Bitch, I'm a ball, bitch, I'm a ball. Don't get no ball, don't get no ball. What's in my cup? What's in my cup? Full of that punch, nigga, that punch. Bitch, I'm a ball, ballin' like Kobe. Ho, keep it moving, cause you do not know me. Bitch, I'm a ball, ballin' like Kobe. Ho, keep it moving, cause you do not know me. Bitch, I'm a ball, ain't talking Milwaukee. Tell my dog sick of me, ain't do no barking. Pass me some greens, you know I'ma spark it. Mama got ass, told her to arch it. Pull up at the spot, hop out and don't park it. Bino say, always keep one in the cartridge. With Joey up pepper, so we going toxic. Came from the swamp to visit the tropics. Check out the scenery. Tell lil' mama to the backwoods right by the lake.
So as always, everyone, as I appreciate every single one of you guys jumping on, joining me and hanging out with me on a beautiful Monday. I hope all of you guys are having a really good week and, of course, a real good weekend ahead. And, man, we had a lot that we were breaking down here today. But, you know, like I said, postseason baseball is always the most exciting. NFL season, NBA season's right here around the corner, and the NHL. I mean, that's this season right now. Lots of different storylines. It's been really, really interesting how this season has really panned out for hockey. But this is always the best time in sports, though. So I'm glad all of you guys could jump on here with me, like I said before, on all social medias, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and, of course, Instagram, where you can follow me, subscribe, and hit the bell button for all latest notifications on future, and, of course, watch past segments here on the Snake Sports Talk Show, on the Spotlight Sports Network, and also on ASAP Network as well. So, as every week that I do here with the NFL, when we've got our thinking caps on, I do believe that you can succinctly break down every single game very, very fast, at least with the remaining 10 minutes that we've got here on the show. So here we go. Quick caps. There was a lot of stuff that we really, really were there was a lot of them that were obvious, but there were also some that were big time surprises. So quick caps. Here we go. Let's get it started with the Thursday night football game. Buccaneers, Eagles. Tom didn't hurt. So Tom Brady 9-1 in his record in the NFL Network since 2012. By the way, I mean, that defense right now for Tampa Bay is really giving me some concerns because the Eagles, let me just be honest about Philadelphia. Nick Sirianni, I do not think he has a plan, period. I mean, the Eagles, what's interesting is, why are they not running the football more often? I do not understand this. Why did you draft Miles Sanders for him not to run? This Eagles team doesn't make any sense. So, but I will tell you this, though. Shane Steichen is a smart offensive coordinator that I think at some point he's going to get his chance as being a head coach. But the Eagles were very close in this game. I mean, it was a 6-point margin. Too bad that it kind of wrecked my prime predictions because the fact of I had Tampa in 7 and it only got just the 1 point. But as usual, Tom Brady looked like his best. But Leonard Fournette definitely stole the spotlight that week. Dolphins, Jags in London. Urban story starts. Urban Meyer, first win as an NFL coach, and the first win for the Jags, snaps the 5-game losing streak. That's their first win since week 1 of 2020. They had lost 20 straight games. Absolutely horrendous, horrifying, but you know, it was definitely looking a lot better. So both the Dolphins and Jags right now are 1-5. You clearly know right now that there are some issues happening with the Miami Dolphins. Nobody can seem to figure that out, but the Jags and Trevor Lawrence, they looked real good. And then right there, that field goal right in the end. Oh, everybody was getting emotional in that locker room. Good win for the Jags. Chiefs, Washington. Chiefs turning things around. Well, 31-13 was the final score. Kansas City already has won 8 straight games against Washington. I don't know what's wrong with this defense. This Washington football team does not look like the type of defense we saw this past season. They look a little bit more exposed. They look more vulnerable than we've seen. Not a whole lot of pressures, even though Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, there's still been questions about that defense and how suspect they are, but it was a much better win for Kansas City. Vikings, Panthers, skull scared cats. Well, skull chant for the Minnesota Vikings. They improved to 3-3. KJ Osborne with a game-winning 27-yard receiving touchdown in overtime. I can't figure out Minnesota. Like, that is the one team in this league I can't figure out. But the Panthers, as a lot of us are looking at, Sam Darnold is just in this. He's just right now in this mentality. Knows he's got pressure on him. It's not even just being on the offense. It's not even just with the coaching staff, but it's the franchise as a whole, because the owner is very competent. He's not a patient person. You can't afford to make a lot of mistakes. Even though I do like Sam Darnold and I like what the rest of this team has done. And by the way, Chuba Hubbard is a really, really good option as a rookie, helping out Christian McCaffrey, who's been put on IR. But down the stretch for the Panthers, it's not going to be as easy as they think. Rams, Giants, rammed over New York, 38-11. Gosh, that was an embarrassing loss to the Giants. They got blown out by the Rams. 5-1 start or better for the second time in the last 20 seasons for the Rams. Sean McVay is very happy with what the Rams have done, getting aggressive, to getting Matthew Stafford, but this team looked a lot better. Still a lot of pressures for Daniel Jones, but this Giants team, they're 1-5 right now. I don't know what else I could really say about them. They need to start to adjust things, and they better adjust them quickly than later. Texans, Colts. Wentz, yeah, it's tough to really say up on this one. Indy, good for Wentz. So the Colts right now, Jonathan Taylor, by the way, second running back with 10+ yards and carries, 2+ rushing touchdowns in a game in Indy history. So how about that? I mean, I love Jonathan Taylor. The kid is a stud. Watching him in college in Wisconsin is a guy that could literally blow past an like a defensive line, and he could punch you in the mouth. That's a running back that is not afraid to get more yards from the ground and per touches. That's a guy that's willing to put up points on the board. But Houston, they end up going 1-5. We know exactly what their story is. But this was a really good, impressive win for Carson Wentz. Maybe this could be the start of something for Indianapolis moving forward. Bengals, Lions. Detroit, dump city. 34-11, 0-6. I don't know. I'm having a lot of curiosity right now with the Detroit Lions. It's not looking good. The Bengals, though, Joe Burrow looked very impressive. They've won 7 straight games already against Detroit. They looked a lot better. But who knows? I think this will be. I do think Cincinnati could be a team to sneak their way into the playoffs. But it all comes down to health. It all comes down to efficiency. So hopefully it'll be better. It'll be much, much better than we think. Chargers, Ravens, major power outage. So the flock ended up just out-dueling the Chargers, blowing them out 34-6. I did not expect that. But Lamar Jackson is the only quarterback since 1970 with 5+ starts and 0 losses in October. October is his month. That's where a lot of teams should be concerned. They should probably, they should probably keep up on their toes, because that's, like I said, I don't think anybody in this league has an answer for Lamar Jackson. Not even close. But he looked very impressive. He looked really, really good. Ravens improved themselves to 5-1. Packers, Bears. Rodgers owns Chicago 24-14. Green Bay has already won 19 of the last 22 games against Chicago. The Bears, they've had a bunch of concerns with as far as their offensive line goes, even though it was an interesting game through and through because of how close the score was. I mean, it was a 10-point margin, but all throughout the game, it didn't seem like Green Bay was too much in sync, but they were still managing to at least get past a lot of those hurdles against Chicago. really impressive win, but Aaron Rodgers still owns the Bears. Cardinals, Browns, 6-0. Cardinals right now 6-0 for the first time since 1974. Let me just be honest. The Cardinals this past offseason, like Kyler Murray, they knew what they were getting with him. And Cliff Kingsbury was on the hot seat as a coach. But look at all the moves they did. They only had one veteran, Larry Fitzgerald. That's it. What did they do all throughout this offseason? They needed to get better at discipline. That's why they got JJ Watt from Houston. They ended up getting Zach Ertz on trade. And this team looks a lot better. This is definitely a playoff team. That's a team that looks like they're well coached, a team that's willing to give Kyler Murray support. So it made sense. But the Browns, though, honestly, I love their defense and I do love a lot of their offensive pieces, but come on, Baker. There's no excuses whatsoever when you're playing against, a Cardinals team with Kyler Murray that is capable and efficient of throwing the football. You got to find ways you got to find certain ways to really compete with that. Cowboys, Patriots, boys finally winning it. 5-1, and they beat New England Patriots first time since 1985. So it's been a long time coming for the Cowboys against New England. And CeeDee Lamb, wide open, 35 yards with that receiving touchdown in overtime. Even though the Patriots had some answers, but I think most of that too is all pullback from Josh McDaniels. Didn't really look good in the end, but still, Dallas might be a tough team. They might be making some noise for the rest of the season in the NFC. Raiders, Broncos, statement has been made. Raiders, after John Gruden out of the locker, out of the franchise, out of the coaching staff, this Raiders team needed to prove something. Derek Carr was not the problem. Defense is not the problem. They looked much better, scoring 34 points against Denver, which, by the way, Kenyon Drake is the first Vegas player with one rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown since week 2 of 2011 from Darren McFadden. So what a day it was for him. They got the run game much, much better, but the offense looked like it was flowing a lot better. I didn't see any pullback. I didn't even see any types of pushback. So Raiders, that was a very impressive win. Seahawks, Steelers, why so close? Pittsburgh, come on, man. What in the world was that all about? Even though that Chris Boswell was able to win that game in a field goal, but you're playing with Geno Smith as a backup quarterback for Seattle. They don't have a pass rush. They didn't really have any answers against Pittsburgh. But then again, Pittsburgh's not looking so great on their end. But it's still, they improved to 3-3. I don't think the Steelers are really all that as a team, but still, it was a good enough win than not a win at all. And finally, Bills, Titans, Buffer than Derrick Henry. Yeah, Buffalo Bills, I think tonight, they're going to do whatever that they can to contain Derrick Henry and this offense. Because even though outside of the offense that the Titans are getting, because a lot of the guys are coming back, the problem that I do have is their defense. So I don't think they're going to be able to contain Josh Allen and the rest of that wide receiver core. Dawson Knox has actually been looking really good at the tight end position. So I do think it will be interesting. And by the way, Josh Allen is my championship. He's my champion pick. For those of you on SuperDraft Pro, he's my guy that I think is going to be looking really, really good. I would anticipate 4 passing touchdowns tonight against Tennessee, because I don't think that backfield is going to be really, really prepared for Josh Allen and for the rest of that booming offense. So, well, there you go. Quick caps, folks. So, like I said, I do this every week. Not really the best, but it's still a lot of fun to do stuff like this. So, all righty, guys, thank you so much for watching. We will catch you guys tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of the Snake Sports Talk Show. Take care. Have a good day, and we will see you guys tomorrow.